All right, we are back with part 2 of cutting out the fabric for this adorable vintage 70s pattern. I got this in an estate sale. I had this bed sheet left over. It's the perfect fit. Many of these sewing patterns will show you how to place the sewing pattern on the fabric, but that's really up to you. It depends on how much fabric you want to waste. Usually I would follow their guidelines, but at the end of the day, this is just a bed sheet to me, and I'm going to use it for both the self fabric and the lining. In placing this pattern, I also discovered that the flowers go in a sort of diagonal crisscross, and then in this direction, they go up and down. When that happens, I usually like to opt for the crisscross because the up and down with a long garment, like a long skirt, can look very linear. Obviously, unless that's what you're going for. But I wanted this to feel more organic. So I actually used a grain line to match up the 3 flowers that would best align in the front of the bodice, pinned it out, and cut this side out. Now, I know many sewists here on TikTok will cut through with the rotary tool, but sometimes with these vintage patterns, they have the notches placed differently, so you have to cut them out with scissors. It is more time intensive, but can be much more precise. So anyways, here's me figuring out the pattern matching for the opposite side of the bodice and using that grain line again to line up the 3 flowers, so that way we have a nice mirroring on the front of this dress. I am making this dress out of a bed sheet into a couture garment, baby. It's actually little details like that that help elevate your clothing. So when I can, I will absolutely opt to pattern match. So even though the bodice pattern said cut out 4, for the lining front and back, and you can fold your fabric accordingly to cut out all the pieces at once, when you're pattern matching, you kind of want to go a little slower. Sometimes you want to cut the self side first and then cut the lining. It also helps you maintain your grain lines better. It will make the clothing you make just much nicer if you are intentional about how you cut out fabric. And I don't know about you, but cutting fabric on the floor like big skirts always makes me feel like a Disney princess, so I was just vibing with it. Although by this point, my hips and back were hurting, so I have to find a happy medium between my cutting table and cutting on the floor. So anyways, that's a me problem. So in part 3, we'll sew the dress and we'll have the final reveal.